Actually, don't answer that.
Hey.
I don't actually know what that means. Yeah.
What's going on, Nino?
Going all right, not too bad. How you
Make the
doing?
circle bigger, otherwise he can't get in.
Good.
Been a long time.
Yeah, I've been meaning to catch up with you. You got a warrant right now.
Yep, I do.
If you do end up getting arrested or do not get arrested, you send me a text saying I'm your lawyer, I can get it for you. I'd look to see what it's all about.
Yeah, because it's on there and it's really not on mine.
Oh.
The whole reporting a gun stolen and them doing shitty paperwork.
Wait,
and not
it's
even...
a negligent ownership
Yeah.
of...
That's our hunch so far.
That's
yeah.
a biggest hunch, yeah.
She's done
Oh.
absolutely nothing other than, you know, a gun was stolen a while ago.
Yeah. Well, you're going to really enjoy what I'm about to say. I'm going to stop by saying, would you guys like the full pitch or do you want the abridged version?
I got time. I'll take the full.
Okay.
Matt, are you ready?
I wanted to do cell rep work. That's it. That's why I've been around. Just go down to the cells, do a little bit of this, do a little bit of that. I'm not getting any phone calls. This is like 2.5 weeks ago. I then finally get a call from Fiona. She tells me that she was forced to be a hostage in a cash exchange by the police department. She tried to walk out. The PD told her, you need to get the fuck back in. Guns drawn and everything. So whatever, that's their side of the story. PD, I'm sure they got their own. Nonetheless, I go down to the police department, try to get a FOIA. FOIA is Freedom of Information Act. It's a way that lawyers can get, documentation as to why you were arrested, all the police reports, all that. There's no report. I'm like, okay, that's strange. Of course, the PD didn't go and fill out the paperwork where they forced someone into a thing. Not surprised. So I do the next logical step, which is have Fiona give a victim statement. I get met by this, I think, Jadalyn, the dispatcher, who in the most, nasty way says, we're not going to give you this for 5 days. And I'm like, what the fuck? We're literally writing it right now. Like, why wouldn't you be able to give this to me so we could start doing something? Like, oh, that's what the DOC said. That's the SOPs. I got triggered and I tell her she's fucking useless and give me someone competent. Because, first off, you're not going to talk this way in front of a victim that's been forced in almost losing a fucking life by the PD and just be like, wait 5 days. This ain't some fucking call center, Fast forward, and I'm trying to find out why the hell she's saying this and how the fuck I'm going to sue the shit out of the PD for delaying FOIAs. I find out that FOIA is not in legislation, which means that if any one of y'all, like for example, what happened to you, Gigi, up until a couple days ago, let's say this warrant disappears. Let's say you want to find out why the hell it was there in the first place. The PD does not have to give any of the lawyers or yourself that documentation. Apparently, no one realized it wasn't in law to begin with. Instead, there's 2 lines of a paragraph written by head of Bar Moulton, who wrote something that has bad grammar, no colons, and misspellings. Now, after having found this out, I start asking around. I go to the PD. I'm like, guys, this is... first, I start making calls to lawyers. I call Solomon. I call Rick. I call Grace. They're all having problems. One lawyer waited 45 days to get a FOIA on one of his clients, which means it's past the statute of limitation, which means they can't do anything. So I go and speak to Bailey. I speak to the judges. They tell me I got to go to the consul, propose legislation, talk to the head of bar. And so in the interim to all this, he directs me to Slacks. Slacks wakes 45 minutes of my time saying that the PD this and PD's busy that and there's call this, call that. I'm like, motherfucker, if you're arresting people, you're saying you got evidence that they committed a crime. How are you going to tell me that PD doesn't have time to write 2 sentences into a fucking report? How'd you arrest him then? Excuse. It's not. He doesn't have the power to do it. He passes me on to Ruby. Ruby, same show. She tells me all kinds of bullshit, doesn't give a fuck until she learns that I had access to the PDSOP doc, like a PD version of this file. And she's now more interested in a crusade against the dispatcher, who she thinks leaked the document, even though I tell her that Judge Bailey gave me the docs. I then bring up, like, look, you know there's people that are getting negligent ownership of a firearm, and there's no way for us to fight it? Because I have one client that got robbed by Cheng Gang a number of times over the course of 40 incidents. Now, that's going to happen, right? And this guy, you know, it's been recorded, gun's been stolen 3 times. In one of those cases, the PD never filed a report. And as a consequence, they put a warrant out for his arrest. He woke up to it. Didn't interrogate him, didn't ask him why. They just throw it up. Their reasoning, the DOJ said so. So now I'm obscenely triggered at this, because I'm like, how you turning civilians into criminals? Like, where you fucking just like throwing shit up there and just hoping it sticks, and then they can't do anything, and then the lawyer can't get the documentation, and then they can't fake the charge? Like, well, what are you fucking doing? And Ruby tells me, well, maybe they should take care of their guns. I wanted to fucking grab her by the neck and throw her off the building. I'm going to be honest with you. But I bit my tongue. And lo and behold, I go back to Bailey, talk to him about it. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I talked to Murphy. And Murphy, in so many words, says, Max and Siobhan are trying to kill me. I don't have time for your FOIAs. This is a guy that represents lawyers, by the way. So I tell him he's fucking useless. He's a piece of trash. And I hope Max puts a fucking gun in his mouth and pulls the trigger. Because quite frankly, if you're not helping the lawyers defend their clients, then 99% of the city is fucking doomed. Because what the hell are they going to do when the PD comes at them sideways? Couple days go by. This is last Saturday now. And Crane calls me up and says, hey, we need to talk.
Fuck the government.
I meet him in Polito. And this man acting like he's got a fucking stick up his ass. Absolutely triggered at me. Why? I don't know. Apparently the PD's going and crying that Nino's pointing out that he needs FOIAs. Oh my God. The lawyer's doing his work. Crane comes to me with a bit of an attitude. As if I'm the one not giving the FOIAs. Like I got fucking power for doing anything other than asking for a document. And he starts trying to mansplain to me that everyone knows in the PD that they're supposed to give these documents within 5 days, and it doesn't need to be the total of 5. And I tell him, then why is Ruby, Slacks, and every other person I run into telling me different? And he goes, well, they should know better. You need to start this. I told him to suck a dick. We need legislation. So eventually he agrees to go to Mount Chiliad and start writing up a document. A couple days go by. We meet back on Monday. And after having agreed to write this stuff, he opens up another argument about, oh my God, I need examples of who's getting, like the charge you got, Gigi, or whose profiles are having unprofessional things written on them. And give me examples of cases where people aren't getting their FOIA requests. Like as if I'm sitting there with a fucking binder with like, examples of all this at the ready. Let alone the fact that I don't have like, Judge MDT access and all that. After hearing him bitch and complain, I told him to shut the fuck up and start writing. Next day, legislation gets passed. Now FOIA is in legislation. One of 20 documents pushed by just a lawyer, myself, right? Because I pushed them into doing something that they should have done 7 months ago. I find out the next day that Crane never, over the course of those 2 to 3 hours, never actually really did that. Bailey wrote the document, and that man just plagiarized, bitching and complaining that he had to do something. I want you to soak that in for a moment. That the Chief Justice, a member on the City Council, a part of the 8 individuals that were tasked to exercise and expand and protect the rights of the people plagiarized another justice's writing and put his name on it.
That's pretty embarrassing.
So I came to the realization that they all got to go. And that starts with me getting elected and me going for the throat of anyone that decides to take a position of power, hold a seat, and decide to become complacent, lazy, and lose sight of what Los Santos is made up of. It's comprised of you, comprised of everybody that is not the government, and if they are not being protected, fuck them. Since then, common law has been published, another thing that he was kicking and screaming about. Luckily, it's out. And I'm now working with Judge Bailey on new gun reform and licensing, which is hopefully going to affect cases like yours, Gigi.
Yeah.
My plans are threefold. Number one, transparency. Every piece of legislation needs to have some level of people need to know what's coming through the pipeline before it gets voted on, so you can hold the council, including myself, accountable instead of waking up one day and there's some like bullshit law that's out there. Number two, a means by which you can remove even myself because you believe that I am not doing the job. It shouldn't need a fucking 6-week court case. If I fucking suck, it should be like a 1-week process. City votes on it, I'm out. The second piece, bar association. I want to empower the lawyers that have been quitting. Get them the tools that they need. And allow them to write legislation on behalf of the people that they represent. If you have a lawyer today, you got Solomon right here. I'm sure he knows the problems you face. And you should be able to go to Solomon, and Solomon should be able to write legislation and lean on the other lawyers to get 90% of it done. And then it lands on the desk of the consul so they don't spend 4 hours jerking off to some like anti-mime act or some bullshit that they'll write up. No, the people help write the legislation and get it resolved. And number 3, the Department of Commerce, which will act as a beacon by which anyone small and large get immediate, direct feedback as to why a business should be or should not be approved. Alongside a lawyer that is going to be entirely focused on making sure that business law is in line with growth of the city's economics. And that includes the repealing of this dogshit business law that only acts as a means by which the government owns whatever business, creativity, and work you put into your business. Because they should not own it, nor should they be just busting in there whenever the fuck they want. So, there you go. That's kind of everything right there.
That's a pretty heavy movement. So that would mean, right, you wouldn't have a situation like you got right now with Max where they've got someone in power and you just fuck all that they can do about it.
Yep, agreed.
Okay. When is it? The election's soon, right? Next week?
I
No, a couple of
believe.
weeks.
When is it?
Yeah.
3 weeks, I think.
Oh, 3. Okay,
I think it's
okay.
2. I think
Is it 2?
17th. I think the voting starts. So maybe, yeah. Maybe it's like 2.5. But I'm starting the movement early, you know, and that includes showing what I can do. And I already got things up on legislation. Can you imagine that I'm behind like 10% of legislation in the last week and a half? I want you to put that in perspective of how inefficient the existing government's been.
Yeah, they don't really do much, do they? You don't do anything, do you, Solomon?
They fucking suspended me, Matt.
Yeah.
Can't do
Well, I
anything.
mean,
Funnily enough,
the
though, I
council
managed
fell
to
apart
bring in
pretty
new
heavily.
legislation while being suspended, which is more than
Yeah.
the rest of them have fucking done.
It's a good point. Oh yeah, when I talk about this, I don't talk about Solomon. I mean, like, I still find it insane that you've been suspended, yet, like, all this other shit is up, and Max isn't suspended. Murphy's not like, what's going on? It's
so he's not been impeached.
No, but it's on the docket, so that impeachment is going ahead. Yeah, whereas my impeachment, nowhere to be seen, and yet I'm suspended.
So that impeachment, is that likely to happen before the
Hello?
re-election?
I genuinely think that the current consul is probably defunct. I mean, they've been virtually defunct for a long time now, seeing what they've done. Seeing what I don't like. I don't know. I think it feels defunct. I'll say that much. I mean, you
What
would
does
think like
mean?
defunct
they
means
don't
like it's like you know, it's like a male porn star that got his dick cut off. You know what I mean? Like what's the point? What no. Why are they showing up on set?
Purpose gone.
Yeah, kind of felt like that since the shooting, doesn't it? Really.
Even before then.
Yeah.
But have you got like people in mind that you want alongside you, or are you thinking that you know, you just rolling solo?
Yep. Nope. I'm slowly building a coalition. But I haven't really like publicly announced because I want to talk to groups and get their input before I go after the, you know, people that might show up like every couple days kind of thing. You know what I mean? But I've been leaning on Kit Archer. She's an ex-cop, now attorney, so she can keep me sane, give me insight as to what the happenings were in the PD, and give me some perspective from that angle. Eve Summers, she lives up in Polito. There's a lot of representation up there. She also brings the... If there's anyone I could trust more when it comes to business, it'd be her. And she has a strong passion. She was alongside me when I lost my business to Max. I ran Los Santos Customs, first independent mechanic shop. Ran it for 2 months. Because Juno whispered in Max's ear, he said I'm never going to get a license. I don't want that to happen to anybody. And Eve doesn't want that to happen to anyone either. I want every single business proposal to have a reason why it was approved or a reason why it was denied, so the people know and they know what their recourse is to make it happen. We want to develop business, not turn it down. We want businesses to flourish, not, you know, rot into depression. Because I mean, that's what people want, right? They want to build something, and we got to help them build.
Did you say Eve didn't want to turn down the businesses?
Sorry, say again?
You said Eve, right?
Yes, but yeah, I think you're whispering. I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, that's my bad. That's my bad.
Has she turned down one of your businesses in the past?
Yeah, quite a while ago. You know, maths got mudded pretty quick.
No, times change.
Yeah.
I can tell
times
you
do change.
that's kind of the intent of the transparency, right? Because let's say we got into shit, right? I don't think it's fair that I can just say denied and then you never know why. Instead, I want all of that public. And that includes for future mayors. So if I came in here and I said, Matt sucks as the denial reason, well, now you have a reason to impeach me.
So can you bring in things that like just can't get simply undone?
Is
that possible? Like, so obviously a lot of my references are based off of a while ago, but you know, a lot of mayors come in and they set things up. Like I'm sure Max has set up a bunch of things just to benefit himself, right, and to play into his power dynamic. Those things can be undone, right, once they're set in stone. You if you then got in, you could just undo all those things.
The government
legislations and stuff like that
is so scuffed right now. I don't think there's like a better way to explain it. When the Constitution says one thing and then the Chief Justice and the City Council do another. And I think part of that, the answer to that is these holes need to be filled and legislation needs to be clarified. I don't know how familiar you are with Soze's court case.
Heard about it, but I'm not super familiar. Knew what's going on.
Soze is a little cracked out, but some of it is understandable because he's pointing out flaws in legislation and he's getting met with poo-poo pee-pee. And that's making him lose his mind. And I'm right there with him. I am right there with him. I don't know why my phone's blowing up. Holy shit. Sorry, just real quick, because these are 4 different calls in the last like 3 minutes. You know,
Are you running for mayor?
who is this?
My name's Tyler.
Let me give you a call back. I'm in a meeting right now, and I'll be sure to do so as soon as it's done.
Okay, thanks.
All right, take care.
Couple questions I have as well. First thing would be businesses wise. You know, if you got in, you wouldn't hold the same grudge in a sense that the Max does of, oh, you know, we know this is criminal tied, or you know, they might feel that it might be. You'd put through things if it's.
I don't.
Presented in
Criminals
the right
should
way.
own businesses. I don't.
Okay.
I think it's. Let's talk about like this gun shit. There's races who are losing their gun licenses. That's fucking brain dead. Imagine racing. You have a gun license to protect yourself against gangs, and now the PD's like, well, you were in a race, gotta take the fucking gun license before. Which, by the way, they're taking licenses before it goes to court, which is also equally stupid. So it's like, oh, okay, Jason Pollum, like Civ of Civs. Oh, you're in a race? We're gonna take a gun away, and now you're forced to get an illegal gun to defend yourself. I mean, what the fuck is that? What do you think's gonna happen next? Like it's common sense is like out the window. The best way to describe it is I think a lot of legislation is a lot of stick and not carrot. You should get benefits for being a civilian, not the other way around where it's like, here's more reasons that you can get unjustly like thrown into prison without any recourse. And that includes not having business avenues by which you could maybe, you know, move away from robbing banks into running like a, I don't know, like a fucking like smoothie shop or whatever, you know? If we're not allowing civilians to develop themselves into new lines of work, like the fuck are we doing? Like right now you become like a felon. It's like, okay, you take all their rights away, right? Like, you can go work at sanitation or some shit. Like, okay, what do you think that person's gonna do when they're fucking broke and hungry?
Yeah, there's not many options for a criminal trying to stay clean, but being forced into that lifestyle. Those aren't definitely for sure.
And then you
so
know,
there wouldn't be any. That's good to know. Then, like business wise, you're open for reformed people to, you know, open ventures and try to turn their life around.
Of course. And look, you know, I sold guns in the city, class 2s, for about 3 years straight, under a shell company known as Sahara International. Went under the guise of the raid, under the police department. Numerous times we wiped them. They didn't even once had any idea I was involved until the very end, where one of my business partners, El Saab, had his life support line pulled out, at which point myself and about 5 other clean individuals, my secretaries, pulled out AK-47s and blasted the cops. Now, I do think that a lot of individuals like to operate in that fashion, do a lot of illicit activities under the guise of shells and whatnot, and I think those opportunities need to be driven because at the end of the day, illicit sales can still develop the city. So people do need to go to prison when they get caught up, but when they go, it needs to be proven they've done so. Not because, you know, I think SK might be doing something illegal in his record business. But because I think that, I'm going to throw it in cuffs, throw him in prison, and then figure out whether I'm right or wrong later. So fuck that noise. But the only way we can get there is if the legislation protects you from just getting unreasonably attacked.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Another one of my things is just for like a lot around election time. I know this is quite early, but a lot of people be reaching out like, oh yeah, I want to come speak to you, give the pitch, and then election day comes, the vote goes how the vote goes, and then I don't hear from him ever again. So, you know, with you'd be happy to have open communication, even, you know, if you were elected.
100%. That's something we've kind of discussed. Is I want to run the mayor's cabinet like a business. just like any other executive branch, you know, across the United States, other countries, etc., etc. And what that means is establishing enough lines of communication and delegation where, you know, if you need to talk about business-related things, you got the Department of Commerce, right? That can, you know, be handled almost on a 24/7 basis, and that means staffing it with the right people around the clock. But then when it comes to like more like intimate conversations like this, I need to make myself available because, like, for example, y'all have, you know, of the listed gangs, there's about like 25 of them, groups, whatever you want, family, whatever, you know, you have a lot of representation, not just the ones, you know, your folks right here, but the civilians that depend on you, right? So if I'm not making myself available for that, then the fuck am I doing as mayor? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So-
I mean, MANOR is a bare minimum, like just MANOR members, that's 27 votes. Plus people associated, like you're probably looking 30 to 40 total votes
Yeah.
across the board. So definitely could help out. That's for sure.
Yeah. Not wrong. I low key was contemplating putting up a challenge that if we hit, never mind. I want to garner more votes than this city has ever seen, not because I want to win, but to show that people want to see this change and that they're sick and tired of being at the fucking, you know, stain on the bottom of a cop's foot. It needs to be the other way around. You know, they work for us. They're here to protect and serve us. And just because they think that you might be a criminal, that they shouldn't be fucking treating you like that. You know? I've seen the way they look and act around some folks. It's just inappropriate. It's not right.
Yeah, it's a big problem for sure. It sounds like you got a lot of the right things though that would, you know, things that everyone's suffering from right now, which is good to hear.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times I speak to people and it's just last election anyway, you just kind of feels like they say what you want to hear. But you know, we had run-ins in the past as well. I know you you come from a background that I can reason with.
One thing I can promise you is that if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And I expect everyone to hold me accountable. I know the sad reality is that I think some of the things that I'm saying are like givens, right? These should be basic things that any mayor should do. But unfortunately, we're at a point in time where even the basics are like a luxury. I'm hoping that the legacy I leave back allows for other mayors to take it from there and develop the place a little bit. There's too many cracks right now, and I got to fill them.
I think obviously you said about Crane, right? You had a little disagreement. How much of a hold over what goes through and what doesn't can be stopped by him?
I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure I move him out of position. He's too old.
Because I'll be real, SK. If the entire council can think that a piece of legislation should go through as it is right now, Crane can go nope, and on his own he can stop it.
So how do you get rid of that then? Who is able to, you know, remove him from that position?
Well, what I know so far is he didn't want this FOIA shit to happen, and it happened. He was very much against getting common law up on legislation. It's up there now. So, I'm not concerned. He is leaving that position. That is like yeah, that's my goal. I mean, how I end up getting there is to be seen, but I got my eyes on him. I've seen enough. I've seen his demeanor. I mean, the man told me that he gave up a long time ago, and that's not someone you want in a position of power.
Definitely not. Yeah, everything I hear is always of bad government-wise. Seems to be like he's somewhat the puppet master, but Yeah, if you can get gone then yeah. Fair play.
Well, I'll pose it like this. The government is very transparent about what they're voting for and the reasons for what they're voting. When legislation goes up, common sense legislation, and you know I'm pushing it out there, and it turns out he votes against it, how do you think the people, the entire city is going to feel? I won't even need to lift a finger.
That type of thing will be public then.
Both
If he
always
was to
are.
disagree, there is.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
You
cool.
go down to City Hall, look at any new legislation. It always shows
Oh,
you
yeah.
who voted which way.
Interesting. See, I didn't know that. That's good to know.
I think a
Oh.
lot of people don't know that.
That's
an issue.
that's
well, it's by design,
not commonly
right?
known.
Oh, it's somewhere in some little thing, somewhere hidden over here, just like this FOIA thing. Oh, it's supposed to work like that. No. Everything I do is going to be a fucking show. Everyone's going to know what's being worked on and what we're doing, and who's voting the right way and who's voting the wrong way. It's going to be a whole nother level of accountability.
I can get behind that. Do you know who you're running against at the moment, or?
My understanding is it's been Pred and Osvaldo.
I'd be shocked if someone else doesn't step forward between now and then. But yeah, at the moment, it's just those two.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, what I'm hearing, I feel like I can get behind. Obviously, we're still a little bit out, right? But I'd like to, tap in a few times before the actual vote opens. And,
Absolutely. Anytime you
if you
give
get
me
any
a call.
new things come up, just let me know. Or,
Yeah.
you have any ideas or, other things you want to bring forward.
Yeah.
Always down to make some time to come hear what you're thinking.
I think the biggest thing is going to be, I'm going to have all my platform points up on like a website and all that shit. So anyone can tap into it, see what it's all about, dig into the details. And I think the beauty of, stepping forward like, 2 weeks or so ahead is it gives enough time for people to think, cook, and, if someone's got a better idea for something, I'm always open ears, It's not one person that can change the city. It takes everybody.
Amen.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a think and see if I can think of anything as well that I want to bring up, because
Yeah.
I feel like I'll probably have a few questions,
All right.
but on the spot, they don't come to mind. There's been a few things that I've heard from government, and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah,
When you
not
told
wrong.
me the other day, Solomon, I'm trying to think what it was so I could bring it up. It was something to do with weed being classed as like an insane amount. Oh,
again?
bro. Pardon?
Say that again.
It was, you told me like not that long ago that there was some sort of thing where there was, joints, right? One joint is like, isn't it classed as like fucking an insane amount of weed? You told me that, right, Solomon?
Can't remember that. There was a new drug legislation that came in I told you about. I think you might be thinking about that.
Possession of any amount of marijuana under 4 ounces is misdemeanor.
Like one joint is like a instant felony or some shit because of like the
What?
weight or something. It's
Yeah,
crazy,
it's something like
so
that that I
how
got
how
told.
heavy is a joint?
One joint is not even, it's one baggie. So like 1 gram per joint.
Yeah, so it's I think was it 113 grams? 113 or more is felony. Anything
Yeah,
less
and I'm
is
pretty
misdemeanor.
sure I got told, I thought it was by you, but maybe it wasn't, that the
No.
police class a joint as more than the felony amount, which is over 113 grams.
So
I might
the-
be bugging, but I'm pretty sure that was a thing.
It
Nah, was
wouldn't
definitely some shit like that. Yeah.
it wouldn't surprise me, because what I have noticed so far is that what's happening is, I mean, just transparently, the city council meets like once a week and they react on whispers, right? So if someone whispers something in the ear of like those council members, they just go off that. There's no fact checking. There's no, does this make sense? And a lot of that whispering is coming from the police department, who unfortunately has sort of like this attitude of like a not Ash Ketchum from Pokemon, right? Where they're like, we need to collect all the people in Los Santos and turn them into criminals. So they'll find like these wild things like you're describing, like a joint, and not being like, does this make sense? They'll be like, how do we make this work as a felony? And I think that's fundamentally the issue. And I think the big thing that I bring to the table is like, each one of these pieces of legislation needs to be passed through like a common sense filter. And if it doesn't make sense, it needs to be either fully repealed or like amended.
Yeah, I can get behind that. What? I don't know if this is anything you can even control, but you know the PD quota, right? You was the one who originally told me about that, Solomon.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
is that
gone.
something brought into? Is it
That's
gone?
gonna be no, it's gonna
Right,
be
yeah,
gone if it is.
So PCP 1.0 lasted the duration of Max's term 1.
Oh
PCP
shit!
2.0 was
Look at
brought
this. I
What?
changed another piece of legislation.
In, oh, nice. Which one was this?
DOC protocols. I brought it up yesterday that these bozos still had oh, that's great. That these bozos still had Bobby Charles and Carmine Costello as wardens. It was active less than 24 hours ago, and now it's repealed.
Oh, thank God.
It's crazy, right? Took like 5 weeks. Can you imagine that? I want you to soak this in. Chain Gang broke out like a month ago, right? When Carmine and Bobby were fired. But according to this legislation, for the past 4 to 5 weeks, there was still the wardens. This is how bad it is.
I mean, if you want to get more fucked than that, half his duration as a warden, Bobby Charles was an active felon. There's no other government position he could have kept while having a felony, and yet for some reason he was allowed to run a prison. But SK, reference the quota. That's part of PCP 2.0. That automatically ends the minute Max is out of office.
So that quota was put in by Max, correct or no?
Yeah. That was his idea. Yep.
Dude, that's crazy.
Thank God that's going.
Hey, Nino's doing work.
That's good to know them. So that's regardless if whoever gets elected, that shit will go, unless the person who gets elected decides to bring it back.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's good to hear what you got going on then. Like I say, definitely tap back in a few times before the vote.
1000%. Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to hear everything, right? Like, obviously it's got to get filtered, and I'm always gonna. I don't like to beat around the bush. If I tell you I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. If I'm unsure, I'm gonna let you know that as well. But everything is considered.
Yeah, that's probably with me what is the most appealing is communication with. Sometimes it feels like, you know, some people have communication with the top dog, but getting through to them can be difficult. Like, I don't think I've spoken to Max once.
You wouldn't, mate. I mean, his hours were fucking like the polar opposite, you know. Yes.
Yeah, even if I was his hours, it's like, you know what I'm saying? He ain't reaching out to see what we got going on. He ain't, you know, seeing how he can help us and shit like that. Because we just viewed as criminal scumbags.
Yeah. Oh.
Probably.
All right.
Which we aren't
All right.
all the time.
And that invite goes to anybody. You know, I'm in the yellow pages pretty often. So, if you got any questions, any issues, need legal advice, I'm a call away.
Sounds good.
All right.
Definitely do that. Appreciate you giving us the pitch, though, and letting us know what you got going on and what
Yeah.
it's all about.
Anytime. I appreciate you coming down.
Of course.
All right.
We'll let you tend to those 50 phone calls you got.
Yeah.
Busy man.
All right. Y'all take care.
Thanks, Nino.